And unlike the glossy productions of the past, at least some of the latest footage appears to be more hastily produced in the latest ISIS video, leading some experts to believe that ISIS is getting desperate. CNN national security analyst Bob Baer going as far to say that this one indicates these guys are on the run. So joining me now to discuss this, David Gartenstein-Ross, Senior Fellow Foundation for Defense of Democracies. David, thanks for coming on. There are some notable differences in this video with Peter Kasich compared to the other beheading videos. What struck you?
The most striking difference is the fact that it doesn't show the beheading on camera. ISIS as an organization likes to draw out the horror, and that's why with previous Americans they beheaded, each of these were released as a standalone video. Here you don't get to see that at all. Instead, it's tacked on to the end of basically a 13-minute propaganda video that's focusing on other matters. One of the things that this leads me to conclude is that it's most likely that in some way Kasich disrupted the beheading scene. We know that in the past they've staged mock executions prior to actually killing people. They did this, for example, with James Foley. And the reason why is they only have one cut to get a beheading exactly right. They want the person to be submissive, defeated, and ultimately slaughtered. And if the person resists, as Kasich may have, then that disrupts their shot.
And it was interesting also because in the other videos, the horrific videos, the beheadings and the prisoners were really the centerpiece of it. But this was at the very end of a long video talking about sort of the history of ISIS and then showing other beheadings. And then at the very end, Kasich, what do you make of that? What do you think the calculation was here, David?
Like I said, I think it's because something went wrong when they were killing him. That's why it's really an afterthought to a video that's focusing on other matters. I think that they, ideally, for them, would like it to have been its own video. A second thing that's worth noting at the very end is ISIS has been well known amongst analysts and people following the releases for having very high production values. In particular, they often have multiple camera angles. And here at the very end, when you have that very awkward jihadist locution by Kasich's head, there's only a single camera. One thing this suggests is that they may be concerned about airstrikes. That's why they don't have two cameras out there. That's why they don't have the beheading outdoors. These are possibilities worth considering, but we don't know, I would caution, enough into their strategic thinking as to this video.
Right. It's all really a guessing game right now. But you do make a good point because that has been said that perhaps Kasich didn't cooperate. When you watch the other videos, you just wonder what was going through their minds when they so calmly, the prisoners so calmly talked to the camera before they were beheaded. You wonder if there was sort of mock beheadings going on before that and what they were going through. So the bottom line is we just don't know. But another theory is that perhaps ISIS is trying to build bridges with al-Nusra in Syria. There has been some reporting on that, David. Do you think that could have played in at all to how this video was produced?
As to one point that you made about mock executions, this is something we actually do know occurred in Foley's case. CNN has reported on that. And that's important because that helps to explain exactly why people are so calm before they're beheaded, because they've been walked through this multiple times. As to the reconciliation between Nusra and ISIS, this is something that's very important to watch. My own read on this is that one of the major reasons that the reconciliation talks are occurring is because ISIS is in a weakened state such that it sees it as advantageous to at least eliminate one of the fronts that it's fighting on. If so, then there's still no love lost between Nusra and al-Qaeda on the one hand and ISIS on the other. My thinking is that all these organizations, ISIS and al-Qaeda, would like to play, ISIS and Nusra would like to play each other. Al-Qaeda also wants to play ISIS. As to whether this video plays into that, I don't think that it does. If you look at the initial video, it's very much taking ISIS's view of the history of al-Qaeda in Iraq, which is very different than al-Qaeda's own history. So it doesn't suggest to me that the video plays into reconciliation efforts.
Let me just quickly ask you this, David, in a nutshell. Do you think the U.S. efforts with the strikes, the drone surveillance, made a difference here, and that's why perhaps in some parts the quality of the video isn't as good, and we're not seeing the same in this video as we saw in videos past?
I do think it's a possibility at the very end that might be a reason they don't have multiple cameras out there, because it could be a giveaway for any sort of airstrikes. But again, I'd caution that it's unclear, but I certainly think that possibility is raised.
All right. Okay. David Gartenstein-Ross, thank you very much.